morning for everyone in India and probably good evening for people abroad. So, welcome to AlmaConnect. This is our second event. And for the second one, we try to deal with more of education related realm, as most of you out here are looking out for educations and the deadlines for that are also approaching pretty soon. But today's event is somewhat even more special in the education realm itself. That is, we are dealing with the outliers of education, that is women. Unfortunately, women in STEM represent around 20% of the workforce itself. And thankfully, it is increasing as time is progressing forward. But we do have some outliers here who have beat the system long time ago and are in the best positions as their own respective fields. So initially, we'll start off with Indian education system and how we have how to approach that from the local point of view, and then we'll be going for procedures abroad, and then what we can do in terms of a career aspects as well. So unfortunately, Keerti could not join us today due to some work-related issues out there. So we do have here Shivani, who has been it's ECE 2019 graduate and I have now also completed masters in BITS Pilani, followed by now working in Intel. Then we have Vindhya, who is a civil 2020 graduate, then went to IISc Bangalore for masters and currently enrolled in Johns Hopkins University. Then we have the very recently passed out Lahari, who I guess most of the people already know here. Is a CSE 2023 graduate from and now currently enrolled in ASU, followed by Chandana, who is a MEC 2023 graduate, now enrolled in Cleveland State University. So first we'll start off with the Indian work experiences that we have seen. So very beginning we'll be going with Shivani. And Shivani, you had a bit of a work experience as well, and then you enrolled into BITS, and then now you're currently working in Intel, where you had a little bit of work experience in between. So could you just go through this entire process as to how your experience was and how you navigated through this entire procedure?
Yeah, sure. So, like I mentioned, I just repeat that. So, I joined Deloitte in 2019 August. That was a cloud engineering and cloud infra based team initially. So then it didn't align with my interest, honestly speaking. So I wanted to explore the domain which I want to work on, which gives you that kind of work satisfaction. So that is how I started exploring about this different domains, be it full stack or it could be about AIML or anything. So that is when I felt like, okay, this is the domain that I would want to shift to. It's Python plus AIML domain. So that's when I networked with people, then spoke to them about their projects at Deloitte, gave internal interviews, and then shifted to that team. And then in due course, so there was a point of time in between where I wanted to go for my master's. I got admits as well from Oklahoma State University and, 2, 3 more universities as well. But then it was COVID period at that time. I think March, I just got my admit, and that was a peak time. I didn't want to take it up as an online degree because for me, masters, I want to do it on campus itself. Otherwise, it was a no for me because it's not just the course, right? You need to get that exposure as well. So that's the reason I didn't opt for it. And then later, I just continued with the project at Deloitte and the new team, which I shifted. And post that, I came to know about this program. So a few of my friends were doing it already, the work integrated program at BITS. I spoke to them. I got the curriculum. You know, felt interesting for me. And there was also one point that okay, this is something which I could do along with my work. It's not something which I'm taking a break, and it was not just a namesake course, is what I would say. So the curriculum was proper in-depth data science curriculum which they had. So 2 semesters were done when I was at Deloitte, and the remaining two I continued after I joined Intel. So the course, I think, to give a brief summary about it, it has helped me a lot during my interviews. So be it the subjects, whatever they had, let me tell about data mining. So I am from an ECE background, right? So there were subjects which I had to take up, like data mining and be it DSA revision again, which is like a kind of intimidating thing for me. So these subjects were still there in that MTech curriculum as well, but it did help in the interviews. And at Intel currently, I'm working on Python and AI/ML domain. It includes ML ops as well. So yeah, I think it's like a varied domain exposure that I got. Not great, maybe, but yeah, one thing what I realized is my learning graph here at Intel is steeper than when it is compared to Deloitte. But I think that is the case with most of the people, and it's like a sort of mixed opinion maybe. You could start off with a very good team, then you shift to some other domain, or you couldn't like or you wouldn't want to work in that domain, however good it is, and then you decide where do you want to shift.
Uh, so thank you, Shivani, for your insights of the way that you worked the process. It's just we just have once a small doubt. Like if I'm an undergrad right now and
Yeah.
I'm trying to apply for a job, let us say at Intel itself.
Mm.
So with the experience that I have right now, would I be able to work in your company, or what kind of an expertise should I be, preparing myself in to get a job work at Intel?
Yeah, so I think it's not difficult, I would say. So if we just keep aside the market currently and we see there's a hiring freeze everywhere. So keeping all that aside, if you just take it as a plus plus everywhere, like a green signal everywhere, then it's not tough. But one suggestion, like I think we didn't have senior, so what I feel is just pick one domain which you like. I know it's easier said than done, but try to get one domain which you feel like, okay, yes, this is something nice. Every part of that domain need not be interesting. Every work, you can't go to work every day thinking every day it's new. At some point of time, it goes like a flat line. But yeah, if that domain, if you can figure out, and as a fresher, just try to get the fundamentals right. Nobody would expect a vertical depth in any domain which you pick, but whatever projects you do, I think you should be able to confidently say that why you've chosen it, or what does it involve. I think that basic thing is enough, and not just at Intel, but at any company. And coding experience as well, so that I think how quick you are does matter. I have lost interviews because of that. So keep practicing is what I would say, like out of my experience.
Yes, thank you, Shivani, for this. Just there's another small query that usually arises for people. That is, now that many of you have, if they have gone through your profile, they'll know that you have already had work experience. Then you went, for bits while you were working as well, and then you went for, now working for a large MNC. So when you already were working, what prompted you to go for joining BITS, Pilani? And when specifically people try to write GATE and then get into, let us say, any other like IITs or other prestigious NITs, what prompted you to specifically go for BITS, Pilani?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, this was not my very first option. I wanted to go for masters and then I had to quit. So I didn't want to take an immediate decision of preparing for GATE. So GATE, I didn't want to opt for it. Like that was not my interest, because the domain which I wanted to. So at that point of time, I was in a kind of confusion, and it was a scary situation also for me. Like, what do I do? Which domain do I take? Because I was for sure I was having this in mind that okay, I will go for masters, but then it didn't work out. So I just took time, and this program kind of felt like okay, it's not a risk for me, and it's not just a namesake certificate course where I just get enrolled and get the certificate. So that trade-off, it kind of got balanced here. I don't say it's not hectic at all, but it's not something which you really can't manage with work. So the domain was the main thing here, and of course Bits Pilani giving that course, and yeah, my interest in this domain. I think these two are the main aspects. and doing it along with work instead of taking that 2 year break. I want to do it along with work itself, like after I decided to quit that MS option.
So that is quite a comprehensive journey of yours. If I'm trying to apply for masters, let us say that's Pilani itself. So what is the procedure for that, and how can we apply and get
Yeah,
masters?
so this WILP program, so it's WILP, so it has a lot of courses in MTech, and you have certificate courses as well. The one which I opted was MTech in data science and engineering. So there is one for software engineering, and for electronic side there's one, and there are certificate courses, many courses in that. The eligibility for it is, I think you need to have work experience of minimum of 1 or 2 years. When I joined, it was 1 year. They say relevant work experience, but I don't think so. That is a strict criteria of how relevant your current job is to the course. Because I've seen people who are from a complete different background and who want to upskill themselves or ramp up on data science stuff. So it's not a very stringent thing that you have to work on something which is related to it. But yeah, the eligibility criteria is, I think, they don't compromise on that. I can send you the link, which has a brochure and everything about that. I think that might help if somebody wants to just take a reference.
Thank you, Shivani. That will actually help a lot of students here, and if
I
you're studying that, yeah. Thank you for your insights. So now that people have seen about how we can pursue, from a different domain coming into data science, and then while you're working itself, you will be able to learn. So we'll proceed with the next person, the next alumnus here. Now, this person is really motivational for many of the civil engineering students out here, because first off, first, most of the civil people who are in civil, they generally try to look for IT jobs or get into IT related MS fields. But you can actually still continue in the same department that you have if you have the passion and the interest in it. So we have Vindhya here, who has done her MS in IISc Bangalore and now currently is enrolled in John Hopkins University. So, India, the floor is up to you. If you can just share us your experience and how this transition has been from college.
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm Vindhya, and right now I'm doing my PhD at Johns Hopkins University. I'm doing it from the Civil and Structures Engineering department, but technically my work is all about the intersection of AI and materials. So you could call it scientific machine learning, but for material, computational, solid mechanics kind of applications. I know they're big words right now, but yeah. So I joined this fall, and before this, I worked as a research engineer in Mindtree. It's very different from the usual Mindtree roles that you'd see online. Technically, it's a software company, but then they have a very small, concentrated group of PhDs and masters from IAC where we work on. Okay, so my work was mostly on quantum computing, which was a huge jump for me. But again, at the end of the day, everything is just math. And if you're confident about your mathematical skills, you can live, can work in any field you want to. And I think that's the main takeaway from my experience. Um, yeah. And before that, I completed my master's at IISc Bangalore in civil engineering. But again, I just ended up taking a lot of math courses because IISc gives you the freedom of choosing any courses you want to. And pretty much 60% of my courses were applied math courses and or oriented in that direction. So that's how I ended up getting into Mindtree for, hired as a research engineer. I got a couple of other offers during my master's as well from Airbus and stuff, but this was what I was interested in because the thing is, I wasn't told that I'd be working on quantum computing. It was just a huge, like, just given to me like that. Oh, okay, this is what you'll be working on. But I was originally hired for working on scientific machine learning, and that was what I was like very interested in at that point. trying to combine the physical systems that we have and physics of any kinds of systems. Just you can extend that to any domain you want to, basically. And how do you combine a data driven approach to that? And but yeah, quantum computing is something that came along and I really really enjoyed that. But at the end of the day, I didn't really feel like it was new work. It was exciting work, but I didn't feel challenged enough. And so I decided to quit my job and I joined for a PhD. I finished my bachelor's in 2020 and I got a couple of job offers then as well, but I knew I didn't want to work. I knew I wanted to go for a master's. That was like for sure. But initially, I wanted to do it abroad. But then I think the same, it was very similar to Shivani's case. It was COVID, peak COVID 2020, and I wasn't willing to risk it. So, and I then gave GATE. I gave GATE and what else did I do? Yeah, it was self preparation, by the way. So if anyone just tells you you need to go to coaching and stuff like that, just don't believe them. No, you have like a live example. So yeah, it's fairly easy, I'd say. It's just a lot of grunt work that you have to do because it's a lot of teeny tiny details to remember more than and concepts to understand, more than just going through pages and pages and pages of materials, which I personally found not very very useful. And mock exams were extremely useful in my case when I was giving it. The thing is, I'm confused about what part of my life I should focus on because there's the GATE and the master's aspect, and then there's the abroad and the PhD aspect. So maybe I can start with the GATE thing first. So I gave GATE in 2020, and coming to the preparation part, like I just mentioned, I don't think you don't really have to take a lot of pressure where, you mug up those AS textbooks, like the 50 textbooks they give you. It's not worth it. Just trust me. So whatever notes and stuff that you pick up from the class, and maybe I think a couple of subjects needed, me to go through the textbooks. But yeah, it's been a while, so I'm trying to recollect. I'm sorry. Yeah, and I think that was it. Just like notes and a couple of textbooks. But GATE requires a lot of consistency. So just be ready to put in at least 4 to 5 hours of work every day, and then I think that's just it. You're good to go. And then, yeah, I knew I was interested in research. I did a couple of internships during my bachelor's, which helped me a lot to figure out what I wanted in life. So the first ever internship I did was at NIT Hyderabad. It was the INSC fellowship. And that was when I knew that I wanted to do research, no matter how difficult or whatever curvilineous paths I had to take in life. And I'm glad I ended up here, but yeah. So that was where it all started. And hopefully there's something like that in someone, all of your lives, where you knew that, okay, this is what I want to do. Yeah, just stick to it. It's going to work out no matter how long it takes. It's been 7 years since that happened, and yes, finally I'm here. But yeah, yes. And in terms of GATE, that's it. There you can always apply for government jobs and stuff, but I knew I didn't want to do that. I didn't even bother applying for government jobs. Yeah, but IAC was my first choice because it's extremely research oriented. I wasn't really looking for a job per se because IAC is not very well known for their placement cells and stuff like IITs are, with these huge fancy packages that they have. Mostly the CS department and AI, and not AI, robotics department is they're famous for at IIC. I mean, They're famous for these huge packages. But the other departments, not as much. But again, at the end of the day, so it just depends on your talent. It depends on what you're interested in, and it depends on how you communicate those interests. It's not like just because you take 50 courses in something you're interested in that you'll be able to translate it. So you should be confident enough to explain your work to someone. And I found that really helpful in my case. Yeah. And then I got an offer at Mindtree, and I decided to take that up. And I've had a very good time working over there. It was very nice. We had a very nice team. I think the team was like 70% PhD students from ISI Kolkata, ISI Bangalore, and like really, really, really good places. And the other people were just masters from ISC. So you know the quality of students over there, and you know the kind of work they do. It was top notch, but it's just at the end of the day, to me, it wasn't as stimulating as I expected it to be, or as I wanted it to be honest. And yeah, that's why I decided to do a PhD. And that again is a very long process. It's like a year-long application process. I think Larry and Chandana can relate to me with, in this. Yeah. Um, yeah, just stick to your write good SOPs. I know all of this is, easier said than done, but yeah, if you have any specific questions, you let me know. Because there's like a long thing here, and I need to know which part to focus on.
Yes, Vindhya, there's, like you said, like this huge transition that you have been going from IISc, where you mentioned about your research orientation. But most importantly, I think one question that many people will end up with is, because you had the instinct of knowing what you want to do. You
Right.
knew what you want to do. But what if I'm a student and I'm really confused as to what I want to take up? If I'm in a state of confusion, how can what steps can I take to at least attain that clarity for me?
Right. Um, See, now that I think about it, it's been like 3, 4 years. So now I know for sure that back then this is what I wanted to do. But when you're in that phase, you don't really realize. So you have a lot of options thrown at your face, maybe gate or maybe placements, and then you have, let's say you go, you decide to write gate. Should I go for a master's, or should I apply for a government job, or should I wait for another year? There are all these questions. So I think like the broad question you should ask yourself is, do you want to study more or do you want to work? But because that I feel helped me a lot, because right after my bachelor's I was given both options, and it wasn't like I didn't have to think about it. It was an important decision, and I had to take all the factors into consideration, because in COVID, and then the market was bad, and then there were a lot of things, and my first semester was online, which I don't really like, but you have to compromise on certain things when you really want something else. Yeah, but again, I think I got an offer from L&T. Yeah, L&T. It was a good offer, and the work was good as well. It's not like it's a bad company or anything. But yeah, I think your experiences during your bachelor's shape your decision, towards the end of it. Because, and experiences, I mean internships and what kind of exposure you've had to options out there. No, it doesn't necessarily, I mean, you don't necessarily have to take interest in every single thing. But if you find something interesting or even slightly intriguing, I'd suggest you at least look it up, talk to a few people about it. You don't necessarily have to talk to someone who is like, oh, so settled in that kind of a domain, but at least what does that kind of a job, or that that the role or something, what is it about, and what do you have to do to get there? I feel like in this process you'll figure something out. It's a lengthy and complicated process, but still, yeah. And also don't go by decisions or external influences. It's very, I know again, it's easier said than done, because at the end of the day, you'll have a lot of regrets if you end up doing something you don't like. And then it's a long path again to come back to what you want to do. So might as well stick to what you really want to do from the beginning. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Vidya, for your take. Right as of now, that is those are the only things. We'll again get come back to you after a while. But meanwhile, there's actually a question which has been asked by a student to Shivani. He's an ECE student whose dream job is also to work at Intel, but in a VLSI profiles, and they're asking us to what to be done for that.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, so you have Intel, then Qualcomm is one, AMD is one. So for the core jobs and these profiles, yeah, get your fundamentals right is what I'd say. Sometimes what we do is we skip the basics and we try to work on projects which seem complex, which include buzzwords, those kind of things. That will help you, but in interviews, when you're for sure, have that hold, that grip on your fundamentals, then that should be your first step, what you should focus on. But I think current scenario, at least at Intel, the hiring is at freeze. Uh, I referred my friends in March 2023. Nobody got a communication till date. So you see that it was at a freeze since back then. But yeah, as an ideal situation, yeah, this is the path which you should, I think, follow. Like, explore about that domain from scratch, is what I'd say. Like, everything to that domain. You might not be an expert in it. People don't expect that as well. But if your fundamentals are right, then like you are at a win.
Thanks, Shivani. I think that answered the question for Jake. So, with that, now we have completed the Indian education splits here. So, let's go overseas, shall we? So, with the very first person, most of you actually know her here, who also has participated in 2021 BRICS conference as well. So, yeah, let's introduce Lahari Challa, very famous CSE student for Vindhya, and Shivani. She's kind of like the stardom superstar of the recent growth of NIT. So especially so, yeah, Lahari, again the same question: what inspired you to go to the place that you are in, and how was the transition for you from college, and just how are you right now?
Thank you, Ritvik, for such nice words. So, yeah, to everyone who doesn't know me, I'm Lahari Challa. I'm pursuing my master's in the field of computer science at the Arizona State University, Tempe. So, I have recently graduated May 2023. I did my BTech in the computer science and engineering department. And I think I can relate to a lot of students who have joined in the session, some curious, anxious students, because I was in the exact same situation a year ago. So all I can say, it's okay to be feeling overwhelmed or anxious about what future holds for you. We've got your back, we seniors. We are always open to helping out. So coming back to me, my journey, I think it all started when I completed my 12th grade. So I wanted to do my bachelor's in the United States. So I prepared for my SAT exam alongside my JEE, and but life had different plans. I wasn't able to put in my applications as well, so I was quite disappointed back then. And then I joined NIT Andhra Pradesh, and then right from the first year, I was pretty much active in a lot of technical clubs, I should say that. For example, I've joined in as the executive member in the Computer Science Engineering Association in my first semester, and then worked up and became secretary for the association in my final year. So I was active. I maintained a really decent GPA right from the start. I knew I wanted to do masters for sure in US. So there was no other option for me. So I knew I need to maintain a good GPA. I need to be good at my core subjects. I need to get my things done right for the master's application. So, but yeah, back then when I was in my second year, it wasn't pretty much clear to me the entire process. I didn't even know the process for the masters, like the LORs, SOPs, and all that. But the good thing is, since I was in a lot of different clubs, I met a lot of different seniors. And then I communicated, I reached out to them, talked to them about the entire process. They suggested a few tips and all. So I think that helped me throughout the entire admission process. So it is pretty stressful, I should say, that the application and admission process. So when I was in my third year, in the summer break, I was interning at this company called Prime Technologies. It was a biometric company. So alongside my internship, I started preparing for the GRE and TOEFL exams. So a lot of, I think, juniors reach out to me like now about what resources I used for my GRE prep and all. I think I completely agree with Vindhya, but on a different point, that self preparation is the best preparation for sure. So I prepared on myself. I didn't even reach out to any coaching centers and stuff. I just bought those ETS approved books and then studied them, did my practice tests. I gave a lot of practice tests. Those really help. I think I tell that to everyone I meet: do your practice tests. You will know where you're lacking, and then you can work on it. And GRE can be tiring a lot. So it is tiring, and you need to sit and just practice to be very concentrated in those hours. So I think practice makes things better. So yeah, I prepared for GRE. I gave my GRE just before the institute opened. So I think towards the end of July, after my third year. So when I was joining in for my fourth year. So, and then within 2 weeks from that, I gave my TOEFL exam. I think this is another tip I give to a lot of students out there. Do your TOEFL or IELTS test, not very long after, I mean, not very after the GRE exam, because you prepare for GRE verbal, and GRE verbal is it is quite enough for your TOEFL and IELTS exam. It is pretty much easy when compared to GRE verbal, so you'll be able to crack it for sure. Just so that you understand how things work out in TOEFL and IELTS, you need those 2 weeks span time. So I completed these tests, and then I started with the famous SOP and LORs thing. That's another stressful thing. So you need to draft your SOP and then redraft it, send it to a lot of people, get their opinions, because SOP is a very, very huge thing in your application. It's just not about your GRE scores or GPA. So, and I worked on SOPs, contacted to my professors in the department, reached out to them to get the LORs. Another tip here: you should maintain a really good relationship with your professors. It will help you a lot, not just in for your graduate studies, but future as well. So thankfully, I got my LORs pretty quickly. So professors have been very kind to me. So yeah, I think with those things out of my way, I shortlisted my universities. But then you have to reach out to people who are actually studying in those universities to get a overall picture of how things work out there. So I reached out to a few seniors I knew who are studying in US, and then random people on LinkedIn. I reached out to a lot of people on LinkedIn, got their suggestions and experiences just to see my interests align with the university's courses. So yeah, and university shortlist has been done, I think, by September maybe, and then I started filling out the applications. I think I pretty much submitted all my applications by the end of November. It is pretty late, I should say. It's not like early bird applications, I recommend putting in your applications by October, so that will be considered early bird applications, and you get a higher chance of getting an admit from that, and a higher chance of getting scholarships in general. So yeah, after that, I got admits along with scholarships from some really good universities, from New York University, from University of California, Davis, NCSU, UMass Boston, ASU. So yeah, I got around 6 admits. So and then I jotted down to ASU, and right now I'm here. It's been 2 months since I moved to US. I think I've adjusted well in these 2 months. Still coping up with my assignments, deadlines. I have exams coming up. So yeah, so that's been my journey.
Larry, like it's been a very comprehensive journey of yours, and especially the struggle of applications. As I've contacted multiple seniors, they've been telling it's a year-long process and not just 1 month, or it's not like JE that you can just sit and write the exam.
Yes.
So yeah, so we just want to know, like, you wrote GRE and TOEFL as a combination to go for masters, right? And many of the people, like, there's been a talk outside saying GRE is not mandatory, or it's turning into an optional choice for multiple universities. Would you still suggest people who are preparing right now, to write
Oh,
GRE?
yeah, right. So I had the same question. So when I was preparing, back then, at least for the fall 2023 applications, a lot of universities waived off GRE, but I still sent them the scores just to get an add-on on the application. But yeah, a lot of university did waive off the GRE. But right now, I think I've looked into few universities for the next fall applications, and especially for ASU, it's not waived off for at least CS. So GRE waive off is dependent on the courses as well, on the departments as well. So recently, I've looked into the fall 2024 ASU MSCS requirements, and there is GRE requirement. You have to submit in the GRE scores. I think a lot of universities are now asking for GREs. I mean, since the COVID is all done, and but it is definitely an add-on, because if suppose your GPA is not that good and you have performed well in GRE, it will increase your chances. So a broad application doesn't depend particularly on one thing. So in India, at least for NIT, IIT admissions, it depends on your JE rank only. But here, the application process works different. So in order to cover your lacking areas, I think it is better to give your GRE and then submit in the scores. So I think, yeah, it helps. I recommend people taking GRE. Yeah.
So, like, generally, what I can get from this is, like, if you're having a lower CGPA, so GRE score can kind of compensate that, right?
Yeah.
So, what would be like a minimum standard score for GRE if someone is aiming for it? What should they aim for?
It depends on the courses and the universities as well. You should look up for the graduate pages in different universities. They do provide you the average GRE score that their students have, so that will give you an idea. I can answer that for ASU. ASU, I think it's around, the average score is around 310, I guess. So 310 out of 340. Anything above 315, 320 is considered a really good score. But yeah, 315, 320 doesn't really work if you're aiming for some really high standard universities like Harvard, Stanford, MIT, UT Austin. None of these work because they have around 330, 335, 340 scores. So yeah, it depends on the university and as well as the program you're choosing. So I think you guys have to look up the pages for a better understanding.
Thanks, Lahari, for your take on this.
Yeah.
Right as of now, these are the only questions that we do have right now. So, audience, you have a chance to pose any questions that you have. And Lahari is also willing to help anyone who wants to pursue MS, and there's also a LinkedIn post. You can follow her on LinkedIn. And the same for Vindhya and Shivani as well. So maybe if you need some direct personal contacts later, you can go for that. So then, now we'll proceed with one of Lahari's batchmates itself, but just in a different field. So now that we have looked into CS-related realm, we'll now try to look at mechanical engineering. So here we have Chandana. Hi, Chandana.
Yeah, hi.
So yeah, it's already quite late for you, so we don't want to extend this much longer as well. So we'll just try to make it make it as simple on you. So again, same three questions. The first one is how was your journey after graduation, your transition towards the position that you are in right now. Second, how does the track that you have taken is beneficial in terms of an freshly graduating student or undergrad right now. And third is any small tips and suggestions that are helping you in this process.
Okay, like my process is like too late. Lahari already said she already applied the colleges in November, but I applied the colleges like I applied 3 colleges and that too in January. That is like Sankranti holidays. So it's too late. 2 means too late. And because I was late, I applied only 3 colleges and I got one admit that is from Cleveland State University. And I searched like the our parents are like we have to see weather first. Here in Ohio, till ankle the snow will be falling. So we have to check the weather and we have to check the fee because if we are taking loan, the loan should be sanctioned. And if parents are paying, we have to like parents are paying it's okay but we have to repay the loan so we have to take care of the loan and admits is the longest process because I applied in January and after fest like February the vacancy fest I was so waiting for the admits because in 1 month the process will be completed for which universities where I applied because the Cleveland State University and I applied for Texas Tech University and also for wait 1 minute I forgot the colleges because of my visa process and all and also for the UNT University. UNT, all the seats were done because the applications are from fall 2022. Last year they applied. So fall 2023 seats are done in fall 2022 only. So we have to, like, I got the idea of doing masters in my second year because of lockdown. We are sitting at home and we are only concentrating on online classes. So I got the time to think what I have to do. Like I'm having no idea after BTech I have to do job or I have to prepare for civils or I have to prepare for masters to go abroad and to request all my parents, relatives and all. So I requested my father and I asked one day I saw the nice time and I asked dad I want to do masters. So my dad was like okay you are wish but all parents are not like that but my father said okay you can do so after I requesting him I searched for the colleges it's a long process where we can't get the whole information about the colleges there are so many colleges we can't get even after sitting for 1 month like there are so many means so many colleges with ranking and courses in mechanical like in CSU we have mechanical engineering like masters in mechanical engineering but in other colleges we have like automobile engineering or some other type of engineering courses in mechanical field so we have to check all the courses which are related to mechanical field and we have to search for the CGPA criteria and the GRE criteria, IELTS criteria. Now recently the Duolingo also added in that. We can also write the Duolingo and we can apply. And the rank which like top rank colleges and all. And we also have to contact the seniors who are staying in that place or going to that college, or the people who are nearby. We have to talk with them, and we can also connect through LinkedIn, as Lahari said, because LinkedIn is the best place where we get all the people connected. Seriously, it helped me a lot because my sister also recommended me to use Rocket or something, but we still use the LinkedIn because we have the connections like two people or one people or something. So we connected through that, and I got a senior here who already studied in NIT Andhra Pradesh. So he helped me a lot. And my tips for the students is like you have to be like, as Lahari already said, she is late, but I'm too late. So if you want to study in 2024, like fall 2024, you have to apply in fall 2023 itself, like 1 year before. It will be so easy for you. And waiting process is like, it's like a headache thing. Daily you'll get headache. It's like your parents will be asking what happened, what happened, what happened. Your friends will be asking, your professors will be also asking you. But we have to be patient. We already had the tension, but we can't express them because they're also in tension. So we have to be in patience. That's, and I got adjusted. It's been 1 month, I think, 1 month, 1 week. That's it. So, and my mechanical here in CSU, it's like same NIT standard. That's it. Because same NIT subject, mechanical engineering, and I took some modern controls and additive manufacturing, 3D printing I took. So same 3D printing and MATLAB softwares I'm doing. So it is same as in NIT Andhra Pradesh also we got the courses. So the same thing here also they are teaching. So it's not a big different thing, but the add-ons are only assignments and the projects. We'll get the 3D print direct. We can see and we can feel all that. So it's good here. That's
Thank you, Chandana. The experiences vary from people to people, and we've seen early admits, like almost early admit, like Lahari's, and yours in January is still
it's a
getting.
peak
And
time. Like it in on July 25th, I got the visa, and on the convocation day, I came to US. It's like
okay,
10 days gap, so it's too fast, fast, fast. Because I don't have time because I kept in a peak stage. I have
yeah.
already idea before 2 years, but still I lagged on because I have to write my own SOPs, own LORs and all. So it took me a long time. If I got to know this much time it will be taking, I would be applying before 2 years.
So yeah, the time lag is there, and probably we should also, maybe put a formal request to a college to conduct, convocation maybe in the month of July or before. So that looking at that,
Actually, I was so interested in coming to convocation, and I missed all my friends and all. I want to join them, but I can't because on that day I came. If it would be on 12th, I would really come to college.
so Lahari, I think even you had a similar experience, right?
Yeah, so I think I came to the college to complete all my formalities maybe in like the start of July. So I heard that convocation is being conducted a little bit early when compared to the last day. So I was expecting somewhere in the mid July or towards the end of July. But then I moved to US on July 24th and I missed it. So I think I was pretty sad. I saw all the pics of my friends on the gram, and then they video called me and showed me things. That's the thing. Yeah.
So we'll definitely make sure this happens. So getting back to this, right? Look, so Chandana will again ask you just a simple question. What are the three things that you wish you had known when you were in bachelor's? With your experience that you gained right now, three things that would have helped you, your younger self, when you were doing bachelor's.
In my bachelor's, like, I don't have that many things because the same thing I'm learning here. Because the subjects and the knowledge what I got from NIT Andhra, I also, but it's in a different way, like somewhat in a practical way. That's it. There is also a practical way, but the thing is, I'm using MATLAB in the class. Like it is like our sirs are like we have to bring the laptop to class and we have to do all the coding stuff, and we have to show sir if we are not getting, we have to ask them or he will only help us. And even in labs also, like in 3D printing and all, the sir will be asking if you have time, you come. If you don't have time, come afterwards. Okay, that's it. He'll say that's it. And afterwards, like we won't have time. We will be sitting in room only, but still we won't have time. So we'll think, okay, after class we have to go. If not, we'll not have time. So after class we'll go. We have to submit some files and they'll print some 3D particles, and they'll give the today they'll print and tomorrow they'll message us, like mail us, you can take your products and you can leave. So we'll take them. And like these procedures we don't have in our college, like in NIT Andhra. This the faculty will mail us about the assignment and the like what will it tell, the marks thing only. Here it will work is a mail thing only. Outlook mail will be working in US mostly. And but our in India, the most of us will be using WhatsApp and all. But here only the blackboard, like dashboard will be there. The whole assignments, PPTs and all will be in the blackboard. Years gone, but there will be the things in that. So it's useful. My bachelor's, I don't have any that things which is different from my bachelor's to master's. So I don't have that many things.
Uh, so yeah, it's simple. Thank you for this. Like, there are some things changes to be made. Probably they'll for the better of the world. They'll be happening in the future, right? So now we'll go to Vindhya. The same question. What are the three things that you wish you had known when you were in bachelor's? And yeah, that's the same question.
Seniors. I wish we had seniors who were at least. See, the thing is, they were already sorting things out themselves. And as I think Shivani can relate to that. So,
I do.
yeah. But again, it's we're the second batch. We couldn't really do anything about it. But what else helped me? I mean, what else I wish I knew? Yes, I wish I had more exposure to things and opportunities out there. I really, really tried very hard to. So let's say, there were a couple of internship programs. I think by IIT Roorkee and IIT Kharagpur, and there were a few programs by CSIR Labs. The thing is, it's kind of difficult to do all these things by yourself. So I wish the college had some kind of a portal or something, a means of communication. Maybe there's this opportunity out there. Hey, go check it out. Something like that. I wish we had that. And yeah, actually more career guidance talks like this, because it was very extremely new by the time we joined. For Shivani it would have been much worse. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish we had more people come in to talk to us about, what it's like, what life is like after bachelor's, and what are the opportunities out there. And the funny thing is, at the end of the day, you don't have to take up a job or you don't have to go for a master's. You have so many unexplored options out there that people don't really talk about because they don't fall under the general realm of doing things. And these are like the subtle things we don't really see on on the traditional, oh, this is bachelor's and then a job slash, or a master's. Like so many in between things that you could do. And I wish more people talk to us about that. Yeah.
So, like you mentioned, Vindhya, we actually started the AlmaConnect on the same notion that we really had. The most important thing, I mean, the one common factor that we can see across is networking that helped you to get
Yeah.
to where that you are. And the best form of networking is through our alumni itself, who understand us because they've been in the same footsteps that we are trying to go through. And AlmaConnect was started with the same intention, and with you, it'll be taking we'll be taking it even forward. So really, thank you for joining these sessions and helping us and multiple students out there, to understand the career aspects and future of it. Right.
Just a quick thought to what Larry and Chandana were talking about, their application processes. So you mentioned that you can kind of sort of compensate your GPA with GRE scores, and now that it's optional, you don't really have to give it. But I'd suggest you strongly give it because as a PhD student, we get a lot of the inside information, and a lot of your scholarships and stuff that you get is based, and they're external scholarships. So don't forget that they'll be looking at your application set as a whole. So that includes your GRE scores, your IELTS or TOEFL scores, and your experiences. Your SOP, I believe, should translate every single experience you've had, not as in terms of, okay, I did this internship, and this is what I did. Not just that. Why did you do that internship, and what did you get out of it? At a personal level. I mean, I'm just talking about internship. That could be very well a course that you did and you really enjoyed. There are like nice subtle things that you could mention, but you don't really think of including these things because you're like, oh, is it relevant, is it not relevant? There's that big question in your head. I mentioned that I did my bachelor's at at NIT Andhra, and I mentioned my project, and I mentioned what was the difficulty I faced during my project, like that particular research question that we were trying to solve. And I mentioned how my advisor was really helpful in guiding me through it. And yes, and just to add to what Larry said, it is extremely important to stay in touch with your professors and stay on the good side. Because I mean, the thing is, there are a lot of opportunities that they have access to that we don't, and staying in touch with them helps you, at least get some information. Maybe they have some postings or something, or maybe they have a postdoc opportunity in a friend's lab or something like that. And these are very, very helpful. You might not see the immediate effects of it, but in the long run, they are. Yeah.
Thanks, Vidya, again for restating it. I mean, first off, alumni connection, if it gets you to a one level, the connection with professors will take you much farther ahead. And yeah, I mean, the importance of giving GRE, and especially thank you for that insight tip. So it will definitely, I think many of them will start registering for GRE right now after hearing that. So yeah.
I just have one thing to say just to add to this. So when I applied for masters, I sent my applications in after second week of Feb for August that year. That's like, I didn't have a lot of options. It was like late, and I think late is an early word for it. So it was at that peak stage. But since I didn't want to lose that 1 year, I still went ahead with my application. Like my score was 318 in GRE, and you know, I had a GPA which was decent enough. IELTS score was also pretty good. So just in case, so don't take this as a positive one. But in the worst case, if there's somebody who's like, who doesn't want to lose that year, and you have a ray of hope that you see these universities, like the ones which I shortlisted, were really good universities. But luckily, they still accepted admissions. So, in that extreme worst case, if you don't want to lose it, you can apply, but don't get to that position, is what I'd say. It's not that you will not get an admit, you will get it, but why compromise when you have, time to think about it earlier?
Thank you, Shivani.
Ritvik,
Like,
I'm
yeah,
sorry I'm interrupting you. A quick add-on. I just got it right
sure,
now.
sure. This is what we
Yeah.
need. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think adding on to what Vindhya said about SOPs, I think you have to, uh, you know, show who you are as a person, what experiences led you to pursue this abroad studies and all. So I remember I did a national project when I was in my eighth grade. Now, when I'm writing SOP, initially I thought it is not quite relevant. I need not include it, but I spoke to a lot of seniors. Include every tiny bit that changed you or anything, any exposure that you got. I remember putting in a sentence that says I am an NCC cadet. I completed my NCC. So I included every tiny bit of me in that SOP, just showing me what I am as a person, what I did right from my childhood, schooling and stuff. So that I think helps the reviewers to get an overall view on who you are and how capable you are. So I think don't miss out on details thinking that it will not really help or it is not really relevant. Just put in everything you have did to it till date. So yeah, that's one thing I need to add on. Yeah.
And just a quick add on. So just try to make it as a nice story of your life. So, like, hey, this is what I was, and this is what I was interested in, and I ended up doing this. And maybe during bachelor's, I did so and so, so and so, so and so. And then after that, you know, life took a 180, and now I want to do masters. You have to be, I feel like you have to be very honest because it comes through because we read that SOP at least 100 or 200 times for sure, and you don't see the details that other people see. You don't get the perspective, that the people who read your SOPs, and the admission officers basically. So you don't get that perspective, but just be brutally honest and don't lie about things in your SOP. Don't inflate things in your SOP. It doesn't match with what you are as a person. It doesn't match with your GRE scores. It doesn't match with your AWA answers that you write. You're screwed.
Yeah.
It's another thing, yeah. So yeah, just keep in mind that your AWA essays will be is there a background noise? Okay. Yeah. So your AWA essays will be, compared to your SOPs. So that is another thing that universities do. Yeah. And just make sure that you write your SOPs on your own. Take help and inputs and stuff, but the structure should be yours. It's very evident when you read two paragraphs and you can tell that it's written by the same person or different people.
That's true. Yeah. I think it should be a story, basically, a story about yourself. Yeah.
I agree with the same. It has to be a story of yours. And just one more point which I would want to add is, do not do internships for the sake of adding it as one experience in your profile. This, I think, initially we get scared, like as first batch, we didn't have anybody in college. So, you feel that adding experience, it's not that you'll not learn, you will learn from anywhere, like, even if you join for a paid internship or even if it is for a month or 2 months, you will definitely learn, but don't add it for the sake of adding it. So we kind of get tense that all my friends are doing internships, I'm not doing anything. No, even if you're not doing an internship, it's fine, but utilize that time to maybe work on a project which would be a huge addition to your resume, or some skill set which you have in that free time of yours. And yeah, self study is something which, yeah, I do agree is like the best. When I was exploring about which domain I want to shift, before joining the BITS course itself, I took up courses in data science on open source websites, be it Coursera or Medium articles. There's another website, Analytics Vidya. So I had that basement or that kind of foundation for myself. So it was less intimidating for me when I took the course. It was not something which I had to really struggle. I've seen people in that same batch who found it really difficult in terms of fundamentals because it was like the start for them. It's not that it's not possible, but you kind of gain that confidence for yourself when you already know it, because you know, okay, these are the aspects that you already studied. Now you go to a course, you kind of feel that, okay, what did you miss when you were studying and what's new on top of it? So that's something really important.
Actually, when Vindhya Akka said like GRE we have to write and all, like many of the colleges they said they waived off, but some colleges are like only with GRE scores they are giving the scholarships,
Yeah.
because for scholarship also you want the GRE score, that is pakka. So you it is important to write GRE. I also
Yeah.
missed when I was saying, but I thought to say when Lahari said. When Vindhya said I got okay, I didn't say.
And like Larry mentioned, start early. In my case, it was a little different because I had to look for professors I was interested in working with online. Oh, yes, and I forgot to mention this. So, writing to professors helps because you can write to them saying, I want to join as a RA or a TA in your group, and are there any available opportunities or openings or anything? And if you have a good, you don't, it doesn't necessarily have to be research oriented, I would say. But if you have a good background, as in, it has to come through that you're capable of learning anything new. That is what most people miss. They think like, okay, let me put 50 different relevant experiences and get away with it. But that's not the perception of someone who's looking at your application or your profile for that matter. So if let's say you write your professor, it has to come through that you have done different things or you have different interests and you're capable of learning anything new from scratch, with minimal guidance, of course. That helps a lot because if they have an opening or something available, and if they're interested in hiring you, as a TA, teaching assistant, or a research assistant for that semester or for that year, it helps in your applications because the professor puts in a word to the admission council. This is not always the case. So
Yeah.
let's say there are 10 people on the in the department, and not all of those 10 people are involved in taking new students every year. This is the case for both masters and PhD. Only some professors have a say in the admission decisions. So you never know when you're going to hit jackpot. So just keep shooting darts until you find something worth it. Yeah.
Even in getting admission, like even in getting the admit, we can write like not only the technical thing. Like I
Yeah.
don't have that much technical knowledge in mechanical background. I only attend the classes, like exams and all. And the cultural thing, like the events organizing or the promotions thing in fest and all. I involve all the things in my resume so that they'll get to know that we are active, like we are active in the college when we are in bachelor's. So by applying, by writing the SOPs, I already added the things what I have done in my bachelor's. So being active in bachelor's is also very helpful for the things we can write in SOP and LOS. So under that, sir, we have did these many events, so it was a success, and we can add that. So it's helpful while you are active in bachelor's.
And
Yes.
just a quick thought. Sorry?
Okay, Vidya, just excuse us.
Yeah, sure.
Here, Dr. Kartikeya Sharma sir is there. I believe all of you know since Vidya's batch and Shivani and Vidya's batch. So, would like to speak few words here. Just Yes, sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes,
Hi.
please. Yes.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good
We're doing
morning, sir.
good, sir. Hi.
Thanks, and have a
Very
nice
good,
day.
sir. Hope you're doing good.
Nice. First of all, the composition is very good. One from ECE, CSE, civil, mechanical. Means it gives you overall idea about uh, different sectors of engineering. And all the points mentioned by each and every student is very helpful for your juniors. And someone, I think Lahari rightly said, you missed that seniors thing, right? Yeah, but you being a senior to your juniors now, so you have a lot of responsibility to guide them in the right way. And one thing, the name of this particular session, Women in Education and Organization, Ed and Arch. So, fortunately, our NIT AP is always good in this aspect. So, when you even see the other NITs, the girl percentage of admission is less than 20%. So that's why central government made 20% seat reservation as a mandatory to in every NIT and IIT minimum percentage. So 20% seats are reserved for girl students. But now for NIT right from the beginning we have a girl percentage of around 35 to 40% every year. Every year 35 to 40%. It is in that range. So we never even bothered about the 20% reservation. So we are always had a very good number of women students. And one more thing I would like to add in here is their participation in almost all the activities and as well as the placements is also very good. Almost 80% of the girl students in their girl strength almost getting placed every year. And overall strength also, if you look, so they are taking around some 40 to 45% of placements were taken by the girl students. So that shows. So in NITAP, you people are doing very well, and most of the times gold medals were won by girl students only. That's a very good news. That shows your commitment towards the academics. And I really congratulate you guys for all your achievements and the position that you are in right now. One is doing PhD and other doing the masters. That's very good. Uh, so I hope this will continue with your juniors also, and also with your guidance, they will also make their career very beautiful and achieve very bigger heights. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for allowing me to just say these few words. Thank you.
Thank you
I
so much,
remember
sir.
all these faces: Shivani, Lahari, Chandana, and Purna. Nice to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. Uh, yeah, so I think most of you have already known him from the very beginning, and yeah, it may have been a good refreshing memory for you going back in the memory lane. So yeah, Vindhya, you were actually saying something regarding uh, admissions, right? You can please carry. You're muted.
You're on mute. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I was saying, so the weightage given for GPA is not something you want to risk, to be honest. A lot of people say, oh, okay, you can compensate with a good GRE score. It's not the case because you never know what's going to happen, and just try to stay on the pessimistic side of things till you get something really good. Because yeah, you just never know. I've had people question where, so I have like two percentages or GPA on my resume, one for my master's and one for my bachelor's. So people ask me like, oh, okay, like this was your percentage or GPA so and so in your bachelor's, and why is that? And you have so and so GPA in your master's, and these are the kinds of questions you get in interviews. And this is common for both applications and in the industry as well. So just if you think you have a slightly bad GPA, just make sure you have a valid answer or something to back you up for that. So just don't be thrown by that question, because if you have like maybe a 7 GPA, just expect that people are going to ask you, why do you have a 7 GPA? And just tell them that, okay, this was the case. And then, but, I'm really interested in this and I pushed myself and, so and so. Just convince them. That really helps. So, yeah.
Just to stop you in between, like, okay, there's just one straightforward question. What GPA do you think is like minimum standard for majority of the universities that you're applying to? Of course, for the high level ones, it's going to be like 9+, but for at least the standard universities that we try to apply for, what is the GPA limit?
To be honest, I applied for Ivy League and I got into Ivy League, so I'm not very sure about the other things. I had a 9+ GPA, and I had an 8.5+ GPA during my master's and a 9+ during my bachelor, 9.5+ during my bachelor's. I feel like that kind of helped me in some ways, but again, there is weightage and there is not as weightage. It depends on what you're applying for and what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's very relevant to your bachelor's field, so you're expected to have a very good GPA in that. And if you're looking something something relevant for your, whatever you did in your master's, you're expected to have a good GPA in that. Yeah, so, but again, you can also mention, like, maybe you have during a bachelor's, let's say you have your maybe an 8 GPA, which is not bad. See, that's the thing. There is never a a strict marking saying that, okay, this is good and this is bad. So yeah, you can obviously mention in your SOP that I got an A+ in so and so course because I took a lot of interest in it, something like that. Yeah, there is no standard GPA, I would say. It varies a lot from university to university. I've got admissions from Cornell, NYU, Columbia, etc., etc., and I've got admissions from Austin, UT Austin, and Texas A&M, and all these kinds of universities as well. So they're on two different levels, and they got me through both. My GPAs got me through both these things. So there's no set bar. But the funny thing is, I didn't get into. I forgot the name of the university. I'm sorry. I think it was UT something. I think Dallas. I am sorry. I keep forgetting that. So I got into an Ivy League, but I didn't get into this. So you never know. Don't just. It's not something you want to risk. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a few universities do have a kind of cutoff GPA, like not in the
Right.
process. UTD, I believe, I think they had this cutoff GPA. That is what I've heard. So yeah, and also the universities, especially some programs that I've seen, the computer science ones, they do expect you to get a really good grade in certain courses. So like the courses, the DSA course, or the maybe if it is EC, some IC application course. So yeah, there are few courses they do mention in their program pages that they expect to get a certain grade so that you'll be eligible and then you have a higher chances of getting into it. So yeah, you need to be more I mean, if you're applying for say 5 universities, 5 of them might have a different requirement. So it is always good to be on a safer side and have a really good GPA. So yeah, GPA really does help. So it is good to maintain. Yeah.
So now, that all the common point is like basically maintaining a good GPA. But let us say there have been some conditions where we somehow fail to maintain that amount of GPA in some courses specifically, which we have an interest in. But let us say we have done some internships to prove some work there. And so would that like kind of help in compensation for this, or how can we work around it? Because right now, if a person is in 4th year and there's not much they can do for changing their GPA, as the courses itself have short credits. So what is the process right now?
I think it quite depends on the university as well. You can show up some internship or other courses you have taken. So suppose you had this DSA course that in your undergraduate studies that you didn't perform quite well, but you then did a course, maybe some from Udemy or an academy or some other course, and then you mastered your skills there. You can show where you have compensated to the skills. But I think Vindhya might know a little bit more about this than me, because she has been into this process, and she has some inside news. I am not sure how the reviewer reacts if they see not a really good grade on the courses and lists. So I think Vindhya should answer that.
Yeah, so I think what Larry mentioned was right. So the thing is, if you feel like you don't have a good enough GPA, just own up to it in your SOP. Because, so let's say you're a computer science graduate and you're applying for an engineering management, master's in engineering management. It doesn't make sense for you to have like a 10 on 10 in all your computer science courses, which is a good bonus. It's not bad. It's just that, okay, fine, you're a good software engineer, but how are you, why are you interested in management? Or why do you, or do you have good, grades in that? Or did you take courses in that direction? So I feel like most of it depends on what course you're applying to, because you can't expect everyone who applies to engineering management or computational science and engineering to have that kind of a background, like 100% match, I mean. So there are some relevant courses that you take and you perform well in them, and then you realize, okay, I'm interested in this, and you apply for a master's in that. So on some level you have good grades in those subjects, and just talk about them in your SOP and mention that this is, I was really interested in this course. The way the instructor taught it was really nice, and I explored these things on my own, and I feel like that should make up for it. But yeah, it depends on what you're applying to and what kinds of courses that you've taken. And I believe you guys have electives in your fourth year, so align them very smartly. So, which is why I was saying this is not a, 1 month, 2 month thing. It's like a 1.5 year effort, 1.5 years of effort. So, if you smartly align your courses in that direction, it helps you a lot. To talk about it in your SOPs or your resume or just basically in your application set.
Actually, if we get the less GPA in one course like thermodynamics or maths, the elective will be adding to our course, which we are doing in masters, so that we can gain again the knowledge about it. In my
That's
college, it
not
is
the,
like
yeah,
adding.
yeah. I
Some
don't think that's the
colleges
case
are like,
everywhere.
if we get less, like some CGPA less in one course, they'll be adding the elective to our master's course, so that, so you have already the less course, so you have to read this again. So they'll be adding.
That's not the case in all universities, but it's really good that your university does
Yeah.
it. It gives you an opportunity to do better in that course again.
Mm.
Yeah. To my knowledge, none of the universities I applied to do it, but yeah.
So thank you, Vindhya, Lahari, Chandana, Shivani. Like, these insights are the reason that we conduct these, because most of the tips that are given here, I'm pretty sure that no matter, like, you take the topmost consulting agencies, or even sometimes even professors may not be able to give it in the comprehensive way that you did, because this is what, like, the in-field experience that you're having right now, and you've gone through this. It was really, really helpful for me, and I'm pretty sure it was the same or even more for the participants who have been watching this on live stream. And yeah, so right now,
Ritvik, I hate to cut you. I'm really sorry, because now
please
that you
continue, please.
mentioned consultancy, I would strongly advise against that, because these consultancies, you don't know them because they're paid by universities, some set of universities, to apply to them and send students to them. And you're basically just push to apply to only those universities. So just be very careful about if you go, end up going for a consultancy thing. Just be very careful and specific about what universities are they talking about when you go to them, and if you have some universities in mind, and do they just shove your ideas into the bin, or do they welcome those ideas? That is very important, because a lot of people I know just ended up applying for the universities that the consultancies push them to do. And most of the time, like 99.9% of the times, they're not that great of universities, because the students have so much more potential than that, and they're just forced to apply to subpar universities. So just make a very careful choice when you guys do that. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, this is actually very insightful. Never knew the fact that universities actually pay consultancies. That's a fact which I've
They
not
do. I
known.
think you have to go through that process to know that point. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. They do. And like I mentioned, even masters, do not do it for the sake of doing masters. Choose which
Yes.
university you want to go. Any masters, be it in India or abroad, even job. It shouldn't be something which you're tensed and you just try to fit yourself into, to get into that category. Don't do it. It's like Vindhya said, you have to come back again. It's a lot of time which takes. So take a decision which is, giving you peace that, okay, this is the domain I want to learn about. And I think self study, not just about your domain, like out of my experience when I work on projects, try to also learn about things which surround your topic. For example,
Right.
let's say you are into development domain. Don't just think coding alone is sufficient. No, it's not. You should know how your code would reach a user. There comes deployment there. There's testing as well. Most of us think I don't want a testing job. No, it's very, very important. It might not align with your interest, but yeah, around a particular topic, just see that you have an idea of it. It's difficult to get in depth in that domain, but when you have an idea, you assure your team or your leads that, okay, they can take up anything new. So
Yeah.
that is that corporate experience which I have learned.
A lot of times when you switch companies, people on the interview panel will ask you like the workflow of your product or whatever it is you're working
Yes,
on. And if
yes.
you say you don't have an idea, it's going to look so bad.
Very, yeah. That is a negative in your profile. Like, at least get to know. It's not that. So, initially, I was a very hesitant person. I wouldn't ask doubts on calls. I would, think maybe this is too silly of a doubt to be asked and stuff like that. And the second thing is, I wouldn't speak up for my work, which is very important in corporate. People say in corporate, it's like jo dikta hai wahi bikta hai. So you have to make sure you speak what you worked on. I was not doing it in the initial stages, so nobody told me that. So I would take up my task, wrap it up, get done with my work, and that's it. But speak up for your work. I don't mean show or market black as white, but speak up for what you worked on. So that is really important. And
Yeah.
yeah, this overall experience of that end to end thing will definitely help you. It's like you're reassuring somebody that you can take up any new work. It wouldn't be easy, but they would invest their confidence in you that yes, this person can, take it up, be it ramping up on skill set or any new project.
I feel like these are so many subtle things that you learn making mistakes.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're
I know,
costly
right?
mistakes, man.
So it's out of my personal
Yeah.
experience. I would think I am maybe it's bragging. This is a task they know they've given me, so why do I have to talk about it? I just complete it and wrap it off. But that's not how it works. Nobody would take their time out, come and see how you worked, what time you've invested, how difficult that work was. It is you who has to ensure that you speak up for what work you've done. At least in corporate, that is definitely needed.
And that's the case everywhere, I can assure you.
So it's all out of experience that you feel. So now I am not hesitant on my calls, like be it a silly doubt, and ensure you be the person you expect somebody else to be. On calls, if you don't want people to just think this is a silly doubt, you don't consider yours and anyone else's doubt as a silly thing. I think it starts with you. Like if you just get out of that comfort zone, then maybe don't be hesitant. That's what I would say. That's what I've learned. I wouldn't ask doubts, but yeah, that really helps. People know that you are interested in the call, you are attentive on the call. I think it's the same thing with courses as well. Just don't go with the flow. That doesn't work always, is what I would say.
Yeah, I think that I agree on, because it's been 2 months. It's been a month since I started my classes and all, and I see that professors here at least expect you to interact with them like
Yes.
every class.
They
Not
will be asking, you have any doubts?
yeah,
Ask us, ask us, ask us.
yeah.
But you
So
don't
So
have any doubts.
tiring.
They'll be asking, ask us, ask us.
like usually we are not wired to ask doubts, or like we usually take up our time, study, and then ask doubts, but they do expect you to interact a lot in the classes. So I think that's a major difference you see here. I think, yeah, I completely agree with what Shivani said. At least from my education perspective, I haven't got any work experience, but I think that really helps. Yeah.
And the one thing
Really,
I want
yeah.
to add, sorry, the one thing I want to add for Vindhyaka's thing is, while applying for the colleges, the consultancy thing and the own thing, I seriously request to apply own,
Yes,
because we'll get to
please
know
do.
what the college thing and what things we are getting while uh, preparing for the visa thing. It will be so useful, so that again we can't waste the time for the visa process preparing and all. If we'll try and apply by our own, it will be useful for the visa process also.
Yes. If you
So
don't know about the college you're going
colleges,
to, how will you
what you
convince?
can tell in the visa. So if we will apply our own, we can directly tell them, okay, we saw that in that website. The image will be stored in our mind. Okay, we should research about that college so that we can directly go and give the interview.
At the end of the day, you're paying about $70,000 to $80,000. It's
Yeah,
not worth it.
worth it. Yeah. I think initially it might feel overwhelming, like seeing the
Yeah.
entire process, entire application thing. But you
Yeah.
you always have people you can reach out to. They can
Yes.
help you out anytime. I think I'm one of that, because my seniors help me a lot, and I'm willing to be that senior who helps you anytime, any day. So yeah, do reach out to people, do talk to people. You will get to know a lot of insights, and you don't need to rely on any consultancies and stuff then. Yeah. So
There's nothing better to hear than this, knowing that this free guidance and counseling. I would definitely say this is a valid form of counseling, meaning that it's more realistic and more in the field. So there's nothing better to hear than this, and we're really happy for that. And at the with the respect of time that we already have ran much out of. So if anyone has any more doubts regarding this, you can definitely post it on by tagging our LinkedIn page. We'll definitely reach out back to you, or you can send it directly to AlmaConnect's mail ID. Then we'll make sure that your doubts get addressed by directly contacting the alumnus itself. Right. So with that, we'll be ending this stream right now. So thank you, participants, for joining, and hope to see you in the next one. So today we dealt with education, and next week we'll be dealing with corporate. So for people who are interested in corporate realms in particular, so hang on. It's the same time next week, and we'll be back soon. So for the participants, thank you for joining.